I'm Barry Funkhauser, and this is the Barry Funkhauser Show. Well, it's a Friday, and it's a special Friday. Why? Because we have a guest with us. With me, as always, is my co-host and general know-it-all current events guy, Joe. Hello, Joe. Good evening.
Hey, Barry. Good evening to you. I am surviving the rain. Are you surviving the rain?
I'm wringing out my socks and wringing it.
You're already flooding? You're already flooding?
Oh, no. Yeah, dude. Always. It's always a wet time here. But let's bring in our big guest of the day. It's the Insane Darrell Wayne. Hello.
Hello, I'm bringing out my beard and making soup.
Are you soaked over there, Insane Darrell Wayne?
Oh yeah, we're getting pounded. And some rain.
So yeah, me and the Insane Darrell Wayne, we go way, way back. He is my other father from another generation, another universe. And so Darrell, you have a show. You have a lot of stuff that you do, but you have this Wednesday night Knucklehead show that's really fun. You want to tell everybody about that?
We've been doing it about 23 years at this point on at least the launch station, which was in New Mexico. And the station owner was from Southern California. We knew each other before he went and bought the stations there. And he just said, if you could do whatever you want, what do you want to do? And I said, just talk and play music and invite as many people down as we could stand. And we've been doing that for, again, a long time. We've had a lot of people sort of weave in and out of the cloth. You're one of them, obviously, Barry, over time. And we've actually moved the studio 3, 4, 5 times since we started. But, at this point, location-wise, is in stately Wayne Manor here in my house. And, we have fun. We play what we want. We say what we want and sort of throw back to some sort of form of either free form or progressive radio, or at least without any of the controls that a lot of people put on their broadcast these days.
Yeah. Are you having people come over to your place, or are you just doing all digital, or are you having the big old party?
We're having the big old party. We go out to dinner ahead of time. We used to do it afterward, as Barry would remember. But we go to dinner and we grab a little bite and come back, and for 3 hours we do what we want and play what we want. Now we have the capability of doing Zoom. We've had Zoom in. We've had what was it before that we were doing? Before that we were doing Zoom. We were doing
Skype,
probably Skype and some other stuff. But electronically it works. But it's you can communicate better with people if they're in the same room. They can tell. Gary can tell just by looking at my face whether he's screwing up.
Well, I mean, it's hard for me to slap Barry upside the head if he's virtual. So sometimes I got to get in the studio so I can keep him in line.
Yeah, yes. You can kick him under the table. Believe me, I've done it.
See, that's my advantage for being very far away from everyone. So you can't. Yeah. So Darrell, this is what you've been doing recently, but let's get them caught up with when the heydays of radio back in the beginnings of it. You were famous for being on another one, isn't that right? You broke some celebrities at one time.
Well, I'm not sure that anybody single-handedly breaks any celebrities. I mean, if Ed Sullivan hadn't had the Beatles on his show, they still would have been successful to some extent. But maybe he was the flywheel effect, right? You push it over the top, and once it gets inertia, it keeps rolling forward. But I was at K-Rock from 1976 until 1982, and that was really the formative years of new wave and punk and some new life forms that were coming into existence. Prior to that, we were just playing Eric Clapton and the Outlaws and J.J. Cale and sort of, if you will, hippie music. But 1977 rolled around, and in comes the stuff from the CBGBs. In comes the Ramones, Talking Heads, Devo, Elvis Costello, Tom Petty, Go-Go's, folks like that.
Yeah, and
Blondie. Don't forget Blondie.
Blondie, yes.
Blondie, yeah.
My favorite band, Blondie.
And you were leading the way at everything as long as it wasn't disco. There was no disco allowed in your studio. Is that right?
We jumped on the bandwagon. Steve Dahl had started in Chicago at Comiskey Stadium by blowing up records in the middle of the field, and he said, "We death to disco. We hate disco." We didn't use hate or death or any of that because we're too groovy for that. We were saying no disco and saying we're either going to ignore it or do what we can to de-play it or decriminalize it or something. I don't know what we're doing.
So no big bonfires for you, huh?
There was not at the stadium. We buried some records at the beach. We had some a variety of other things. We had the thing that really came out of it that I'm proud of is we had a Insane Darrell Wayne's No Disco album. We got together with Bomp Records with Greg Shaw and Rich Schmidt, and they put together a package. We had invited listeners to send in tracks that were about disco, either good, bad, positive, negative, whatever. And we went to the Orr House in Santa Monica one afternoon and drank beer and listened to tapes and decided 12 or 14 cuts that we liked, and we published it. We put out an album. The album was for sale in real record stores. It's always interesting to go into the stacks at a record store and find your name at Licorice Pizza or, Big Ben's or any of these record establishments. I mean, you can still find it on eBay. It's usually $25 or $30.
Yeah, it's still floating around copies. I have mine. I have a framed copy. I should have it signed, but I don't.
That would be expensive.
So Weird Al Yankovic, you're here for that reason, really, today. I mean,
that's why I'm being drug in from the cold. Okay, got it.
Filled with stories.
Yeah. Come on, man. We love you.
Brought you in from
like
cold.
that.
We gave him a nice hot meal today for. So tell everybody how you know Weird Al Yankovic, because your origin story and his origin story are similar, aren't they?
They are to some extent, yeah. He went to college and completed it the first time through, which I did not. I ended up completing it later, but he was going to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and he was majoring in architecture. But he started hanging around the campus radio station there, and he started to do goofy things on the air, which he thought were original, like interrupting records, playing them backwards, doing novelty things as far as on the broadcast. And so he started sending out tapes of his disc jockey work to various radio stations that he thought he would like to work for. We were both born in the same town, Linwood, California. And we had similar circumstances growing up as far as some of the places and people and things. And he wanted to be a disc jockey at the time. And I listened to his tape, and, I decided I wasn't going to put him on the air based on that. If he wanted to, like Woodside, give me 2 or 3 more tapes before I was happy with him, he was more than willing to do that. But he bowed out because right about that time he had made contact with Dr. Demento, because Dr. Demento was starting to play new music from listeners submittal music. And that's where Al recorded, My Bologna and a couple other ones and submitted them to Dr. Demento. And Dr. Demento started to play his records that he had recorded. So, I was a big Demento fan, and I listened every week and said, let me grab this, let me grab that. So I started to play some of his records as well. And so, it gave him more exposure, because Demento was on a bunch of stations and a bunch of listeners, but he was only on for 3 hours a week, right? As program director at K-Rock, I had the programming rights to it 24/7, and could give him maybe number-wise, I don't know whether it was more people than Demento had, but at least it gave him a leg up on more than 1 or 2 tunes.
Did you ever meet Dr. Demento too? I think you have.
Oh yeah, very much so. I've met him, probably a dozen times in different locations and things. I actually got invited down to the Demento show once, because I worked for competing radio stations, and this was when he was doing it at Metro Media Square on KMET live, and I was invited down once to go.
Did you go?
And I did. Absolutely, I did.
Oh man,
I had a blast.
That's so cool.
Plus, I knew a lot of
you don't say no
to
Dr. Demento. Come on.
I knew a lot of people that were there. I knew Barnes and Barnes. I knew, Al. I knew a couple of the ladies that were part of the crew down there, and it was fun, especially to be able to put a face and an attitude with that voice that you've heard for so long with Demento. He's has a unique perspective on things, a unique way of presenting it, because he's a college professor, basically. I mean, he's very astute in the ways of music, but because he studied it for so long, he's got a huge collection of records, obviously, and most of them older stuff. Back in the it's Benny Bell and crazy stuff.
Yeah, really, he had an ear for sure. Yeah. But
I did actually interview him. I interviewed him on the air the last week that he was on a terrestrial radio station before he went to all internet.
Wow.
Okay, for 3 hours, which was cool.
So this movie, the Weird Al story, I forget what it's called. The Weird Al Yankovic.
It's called Weird.
Yes. How accurate is it in your opinion?
Daniel Radcliffe one? It's a complete parody, man.
Yeah. What?
Hey, I'm asking Darrell here. Quiet, Joe.
Sorry.
Yeah. Al had said that I had seen the movie before Al and I spoke the last time, and he said that I was the perfect victim for that. He says because he wants people to start out going, yeah, that's right. Oh, that could have happened, and then after watching it for 10 or 15 minutes, you're going, wait a minute. This is not, statistically or historically accurate. It's all, hyperbole and made up.
But he loved it. But he loved it for that reason, right?
Absolutely. And
he thought he was awesome. Yeah.
Well, he did like pulling the cloak over people's eyes and then yanking it away. I mean, most of the songs that he wrote and he performed with his band, the introduction part, you can't tell the difference between the original material and his material.
Oh, yeah.
And then the lyrics hit, you go, oh, God, that's, I've been took.
So we're about to play your interview with Weird Al, because right when that movie came out, you had a chance to sit down with the Weird One and talk to him. Now, this thing starts with you. Okay, so tell me about the Chia Pet situation here. So he used to have a Chia Pet, is that right? He still does?
I got a Weird Al Yankovic Chia Pet from one of my relatives for Christmas. We were doing the Knuckleheads radio program, and I pulled it out. I had it in the counter. I pulled it out of the box and said, let's engage with this. And I said, in the back of my mind, I said, wouldn't it be a great idea to call Al on the air and ask him, for some direction of how you use this thing? And I didn't know how old he said it was only put out a year or two ago, although they used the 80s retro red wavy hair, picture of Weird Al from probably, 30 years ago.
It looks awesome.
Yeah. But I told him, I said, it looks like the face looks like Jeff Goldberg to me. I don't know.
It totally does. I was trying to place it. I'm like, it kind of looks like Weird Al, and it kind of doesn't. No, that totally hits it.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy the interview because he says, maybe they have a universal face that they just, plug in for anybody, including him and Jeff.
It's just plugging in the mustache or a goatee or longer sideburns.
Correct. It's like the magnetic Willie, right? Yeah. Back in the day, they had the iron shavings in the plastic thing. And you took a magnet and moved it around. Yeah,
I love that. I love those.
One of those, except you use seeds.
Exactly. Brilliant.
Nowadays, that's what my hair looks
Barry,
like.
That's what I want for Christmas, Barry. Next
you
Christmas,
I
want a Weird Al Chia Pet.
Chia Pet or a Jeff Goldblum Chia Pet.
Jeff Goldblum Chia Pet.
The last present I think I bought Barry was a beaker from Sesame Street.
Yeah, me and Darrell.
A beaker.
Yeah, because that's how I sound on the radio when Darrell wants to call the radio hotline the screaming scrotum line. I say, but you can't do it. You can't.
Oh, but I did.
Yes, you did. All right, well, let's hear your conversation with Weird Al Yankovic, the Insane Darrell Wayne. Thanks for coming on today and popping in for a spell. Can we have you back at some point?
Whenever you like.
All right. Without further ado, here comes Darrell calling the Chia Pet hotline and hearing from the Chia Pet spokesperson himself, Weird Al Yankovic. Listen.
So we've been struggling with this Chia Pet with Weird Al Yankovic because it's complicated. The complexity that we have, we're going to call Chia Pet and see customer service at Chia Pet. Is Mr. Pet there, please? Oh, they're transferring me to customer service.
Hello? Can I help you?
Is this customer service at Chia Pet?
Well, this is Weird Al Yankovic, but I'll be happy to help you.
Al, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How you doing?
What a great surprise. We haven't really seen or talked to each other in a while. There's been a lot of water under the bridge in the meantime.
It's been a few years.
When did they do this Chia Pet?
When did they? What's that? I think maybe a year or so, maybe a couple years ago. It was the hot Christmas item. I got to tell you.
Do you have this shirt?
That exact shirt? No, I think that might be Chia Pet exclusive.
Oh, wow. In the Chia store, you can get it at the Chia store in the mall, right?
Yes.
On the box is fabulous. The picture's not exactly 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah, we decided to go for the old school Al because, you know, like, whenever kids dress up like me for Halloween these days, they still do the 80s look. So we figured, okay, well, that's the iconic look. We got to have the 80s Al Chia Pet.
Yeah, and looking at it in the face, staring in the face, which I've done, obviously, we've done to each other several times, it looks more like Jeff Goldblum to me.
Well, they're probably getting more for their money. They probably also sell it as a Jeff Goldblum Chia Pet.
Yeah, standard issue Chia Pet.
Yeah.
Now, the chia seeds, these are only to go on your head, right?
You know, it's up to you. You can put them wherever. You can make me like the Wolfman, like Weird Wolfman Al, if you want. It's up to you. Your call.
Well, to match the picture, the chia should grow not green but magenta.
You know, it's just a suggestion. Just, go with your muse. Do with your seeds whatever you like, my friend.
Oh. And then it probably needs some chest hair.
If you feel it does, you go for it.
And maybe some eyebrows, and you have the mustache here.
Uh-huh.
Now, that was your iconic look. You had. Have you ever cut your hair?
Every couple of years, I cut a few off. Yeah.
Have you ever cut it for a part or a role or a video or a?
You know, there are some times when I've done chopped off little bits of it. Like I think when we did the Fat video, Michael Jackson had like some very weird kind of sideburns or something like that. But you know, whenever I have very short hair in a video, that's always a wig. People always freak out like, Al cut his hair. But no, I can stuff all this hair under a short-haired wig, and it looks fairly realistic, so don't panic.
Right, because I think in the Star Wars videos, your hair was shown to be short.
Yeah, whenever I do that, there's always some people going, see, I knew that wasn't Al's real hair.
Well, I mean, people accuse Paul Stanley of having a wig that he puts on his chest. The movie that you just released on Roku, wow.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, wow. It was not what I expected. I really didn't have any pretense going in. Nobody had told me it's going to be this or that. And I assumed it was going to be sort of a biopic. I didn't realize it's going to be a parody of a biopic.
I'm good. You had the perfect viewing experience because I didn't want people to really know what it was like going into it, so they would start out thinking that maybe it was true, and then about halfway through you're going, wait a minute, come on.
The stuff at the beginning seemed to be plausible.
Yes, and there are some nuggets of truth scattered throughout. I mean, I really did start taking accordion lessons because of a door-to-door salesman, and I really did record my first single in a public bathroom. So there are a few odd things in there that actually are true, but kind of few and far between.
One of my favorite things of the past that people keep bringing up and quoting the lines from and things like that is UHF.
Yes.
And you were involved, obviously, not only in performing on there, you were producing and writing, and did you direct as well?
On UHF? No, I just co-wrote it and starred in it, and my manager, Jay Levy, directed it.
Wow, really? I thought he was an attorney.
Yeah, it was his first movie, and we were all pretty green, and we did the best we could. I put out a movie every 33 years, so I'm glad that at least I got to stay on schedule.
Yeah, there's a long way sort of in between. Now, your production company was very integral in doing the recent film.
Yeah, so I actually produced the Weird movie, as well as co-writing it, and I appear in the movie. You might be able to spot me in one of the scenes.
Yeah, or two.
But yeah, I was very involved in the making of the movie and casting some of the celebrities and things like that. And I was on the set every single day. So yeah, it was an amazing experience.
You've had some just amazing things happen to you as far as awards, as far as the two movies that are 33 years apart. From the time you were sitting in Dr. Demento's studio singing and having John beat on a suitcase or whatever it was to pump out some of the original songs, technically you've gone from zero to hero as far as technical sophistication is concerned.
Well, I'd like to think so, and I want to thank you once again, for besides Dr. Demento. I mean, you were one of the few people to give me airplay back in the early days, back when I was just recording in my bedroom and in bathrooms and things like that. You'd play my amateurish stuff on K-Rock in Los Angeles, and that was a big deal, and I appreciate that, and thank you to this day.
Well, it was my pleasure. I mean, I tell people that I was one of the recipients of one of your cassette tapes from your college radio.
Oh, yes.
And I said if I had hired you based on that, I could have screwed up your whole life. Because you'd be a almost forgotten DJ at this point. And that doesn't pay as well as what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, I was very interested in being a DJ at a very brief point in my life, and thank you for not taking me up on it.
So you haven't had to go back to that? You haven't had to rely on your architecture background either, right?
Yeah, I get to guest DJ every now and then, but it's not my full-time paycheck.
I think that the comment that you made was important about who was playing your music. Dr. Demento was a well-known entity. He was top of the market. He was in a bunch of radio stations, but again, he was on 3 hours a week. And what we were doing at K-Rock is we were playing it 24/7, right?
Oh yeah.
So it could be on any time during the days and several days a week. Now, I'm not saying that we had the listenership that Dr. Demento had. We tried to give you a lot of exposure, and especially multiple tunes, right?
You guys gave me legitimacy when I probably didn't even deserve it at the time. So thank you for that.
No, you deserved it. I mean, a lot of the acts that sort of come out of Dr. Demento, whether it be Barnes and Barnes or all the crafty people that are putting stuff together for him that was new, because
right.
Demento wasn't really playing a lot of new stuff. He was playing a lot of old stuff.
Right, and he had just started playing things that his listeners were submitting. So that was sort of his new thing that he just started doing back then.
He's a very nice man, and I was surprised in the movie. Rainn Wilson played him.
Yeah, Rainn did a fantastic job. I mean, he's not really doing a Dr. Demento impression, per se, the same way that Daniel Radcliffe isn't doing like a Weird Al impression. It's just sort of their interpretations of the character.
It was interesting because, having known Dr. Demento as long as I have and watching Rainn's performance, I mean, he was over-the-top Dr. Demento, right? He's like espresso-loaded, ready for action Demento. We all know that Dr. Demento himself is sort of a quiet, sort of a humble kind of guy when he's not on the microphone.
Yeah, so in the movie, Dr. Demento sort of takes the place of my manager. So he, as on most biopics, like their chronology and their characters, they're all kind of lumped together just to make it easy to tell a story, and very little of it is actually true.
But it was great. It was funny. It was entertaining. This is the first of many that you do as far as that's concerned.
Well, thanks. This might be the first biopic ever with a sequel. Who knows?
Hey, that would be great. And the other thing is your show, the stage performance you do, has been an extremely multimedia performance from the beginning.
Yeah.
You meld together some of the great stuff that you've done with videos, with music videos, and tie that together with live performance, and it's really something to behold. And who knew that John Schwartz was back there like a duck, smooth on the top and paddling like hell underneath to keep up with everything.
John Schwartz has been with me for 42 years now, so yeah. I think we're all had the same band for 4 decades.
And how is that possible?
I don't know. We all get along. We love each other. They're the best musicians in the world, and I'm very lucky that they've hung around with me this long.
Well, they say it's like Ginger Rogers, you have to do everything that the original artist did, except you have to do it backwards.
And in heels, which I make the band wear every night.
The band, when you start one of your songs, it sounds like the original material.
We we try to fool people, sort of like with a movie. We try to make them think they're listening to something, legitimate and real, and then at some point you go, like, wait a minute, these aren't the right words. What's going on here?
And you've also been the answer or question on Jeopardy about a million times over the past 3 or 4 weeks.
They seem to like me over there. It's nice. Yeah.
Well, what's next, Weird Al?
I'm getting ready to do the last leg of the unfortunate return of the ridiculously self-indulgent, ill-advised vanity tour. We're doing our makeup dates. First of all, I had to cancel 4 shows last year due to COVID. And then we're going to Europe. We're doing, I think, 18 dates in Europe. And then we're doing some shows in Australia. And then we're doing some shows in Hawaii. And then the tour's done. And after that, honestly, I don't really know. But the rest of the year is kind of a big question mark. But stuff tends to come up, so I'm sure I'll stay busy.
I'm sure you will. I appreciate your time, Al. Thanks for checking in.
My pleasure. Thanks, Darrell. Great to talk to you.
Great to talk to you as well.
Bye-bye.